Were the protests that we saw today across the country amongst the Muslim community spontaneous, or were they orchestrated? Joining me on the Newstrack, I want to welcome first Maulana Muhammad Sajid Rashidi, President of the All India Imam Association. Lots of these banners doing the rounds, messages sent on WhatsApp, which seem to be inviting people after the Jummeh ki namaz for a Bharat Bandh. So I intend to put some tough questions to Maulana Rashidi. But it's also important to understand what is going on, because there hasn't been an occasion in the recent past where we've seen so many different centers seeing this kind of a simultaneous protest in many years now. Joining us is Sushant Sareen, leading strategic affairs expert. Rashmi Saman joins us. She's a Hindu human rights activist by her description. Tushar Gupta is a senior editor at Swarajya. We've got Hamza Masood joining us, and we've got Zakia Suman, who's the co-founder of the Bharatiya Muslim Mahila Andolan. Let me start by asking Maulana Rashidi whether these protests were pre-planned. Are they spontaneous? क्या आप मानते हैं कि एक तरीके से WhatsApp के जरिए, सोशल मीडिया के जरिए लोगों को बताया गया कि जुम्मे की नमाज के बाद बाहर निकलना है, प्रोटेस्ट करना है? क्योंकि कई सारे जो इमाम हैं, जैसे जामा मस्जिद के इमाम हैं, कह रहे हैं कि ये स्पॉन्टेनियस था, उनको पता ही नहीं था कि ऐसा होने वाला है।
नहीं, ये शाही इमाम साहब ने जो कहा है ये बिल्कुल सही कहा है। किसी को भी नहीं पता ना, क्योंकि मैं भी इमाम हूँ एक मस्जिद में, मुझे भी पता नहीं था कि ऐसा प्रोटेस्ट होना है। हालांकि मेरे पास जो है यूपी से कई लोगों का फ़ोन आया कि साहब कल शाम में कि कल भारत बंद है क्या? मैंने कहा नहीं, मुझे तो पता नहीं है। तो ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं था कि ये प्री प्लान है। जिसने भी ये अफवाह फैलाई है उसके सोर्स को पता कीजिए।
नहीं
कि किसने
देखिए ना, मेरे पास तो ये व्हाट्सएप मैसेज है. It's from a character called Wasi Mamu, which sent yesterday at 6:30 p.m, which talks about पैगंबर मोहम्मद के खिलाफ जो बयान दिए गए, उसको लेके 10 जून जुम्मा की नमाज के बाद भारत बंद. So obviously this was spreading amongst members of the community.
मैं वही कह रहा हूं कि आप इसके सोर्स का पता करके, मैं भी खुद मांग करता हूं आपके चैनल के माध्यम से, जिसने इस तरह की खबर फैलाई है उसको पकड़ा जाए. ऐसा तो कुछ भी नहीं, कहीं भी नहीं, जहां भी कहीं हुआ.
आपके हिसाब से क्या हुआ?
देखिए जहां भी जो हुआ है, प्रोटेस्ट हुआ है, होता क्या है मैं बताता हूं आपको. जैसे कि मस्जिद में मैं इमाम हूं, वहां आम नमाजों में 10 से 15 लोग आते हैं, लेकिन जुमा के दिन वहीं 250, 300 और 500 तक लोग हो जाते हैं. तो जुमा के दिन जो है लोग कुछ ज्यादा इकट्ठे होते हैं. उसका जो है कुछ सोशल वर्कर, कुछ किसी पार्टी से जुड़ा हुआ आदमी उसका फायदा उठा लेता है. लोग वहां इसलिए नहीं आते कि भाई ऐसा होना है, लेकिन जैसे जामा मस्जिद पर शाही इमाम को पता नहीं कि प्रोटेस्ट होगा और जामा मस्जिद पर प्रोटेस्ट हो गया. तो ये सारी चीजें जो है हमें कहीं ना कहीं जानकारी में लेनी होंगी कि भाई ये हुआ क्यों है. अब देखिए आगजनी की बात आई, जहां तक आगजनी किसने बताया उनको कि भाई आगजनी करनी है. अगर कहीं पत्थरबाजी की बात आई तो पत्थरबाजी किसने बताया?
रांची की तस्वीरें देखिए, वहां पे वो पुलिस से भिड़ रहे हैं, धक्का मुक्की हो रही है. श्योरली दिस इज नॉट राइट. हावड़ा, these pictures of different things being set on fire, गाड़ियां जलाई जा रही हैं, फूकी जा रही हैं वहां पे.
मैं वही कह रहा हूं. देखिए प्रोटेस्ट करना एक जमहूरी हक होता है आदमी का. अगर किसी भी बात को लेकर कोई आदमी प्रोटेस्ट कर रहा है तो उसका जमहूरी हक है, वो कर सकता है. लेकिन उस जमहूरी हक का गलत इस्तेमाल करना, कानून अपने हाथ में लेना, या इस तरह की कोई हरकत करना जो जमहूरियत के और कानून के खिलाफ हो, तो वो कहीं ना कहीं इसकी कोई इजाजत नहीं दे सकता. हम तो उसके साथ नहीं खड़े हुए हैं.
सुशांत,
हाँ, नुपुर शर्मा को लेकर जो गुस्सा था लोगों का, आज वही गुस्सा फूटा है. मेरा मानना शुरू से ये रहा है इस मुद्दे में कि अगर सरकार रहते हुए इस पर कार्रवाई कर लेती तो न कानपुर होता, न
कार्रवाई की तो सही, उसको सस्पेंड तो कर दिया.
तो अब हुआ 10 दिन के बाद सर, जब लावा पक गया बिल्कुल, जब लोगों के जहन में ये बात बैठ गई कि अब हमें सड़कों पर निकलना है, तब जाके ऐसा हुआ.
Now the Maulana here is telling us that these weren't planned, but Sushant Sareen, given the fact that in so many different centers, whether it's a Hyderabad, a Kanpur, a Ranchi, a Delhi, a Lucknow, or a Prayagraj, people came out together. Do you think this warrants a deeper investigation to determine who planned this, or could this be a spontaneous showing of anger?
Rahul, if it had to be a spontaneous showing of anger, then why has it taken 10 days or 12 days for such kind of demonstrations to happen? It could have happened earlier. There was, I believe, Friday, even before this, when the remark had already been made. And I would have imagined that if the remark had been made and people were actually as agitated as they were apparently been shown to be today, then this should have happened maybe last week.
Rashid,
I
that's
would
an
have then
important point.
imagined that it was
ये तो
spontaneous.
पिछले फ्राइडे को हो जाना चाहिए था अगर ये होना ही था. नूपुर का बयान तो आ चुका था अगर गुस्सा होता कम्युनिटी में तो. ये तो जब बीजेपी ने उसको सस्पेंड कर दिया, नवीन जिंदल को निकाल दिया, उसके बाद अब इस तरह की हरकत हो रही है, इस तरह के तोड़फोड़ हो रही है.
मैं बताता हूं. देखिए, पिछले जुमा को जो कानपुर में हादसा हुआ, उस टाइम तक लोगों को ये था ही नहीं कि सड़कों पर आना है, सड़कों पर निकलना है. ये कोई प्लान नहीं है. कानपुर के हादसे के बाद में जब कानपुर में लोग सड़कों पर निकल गए तो लोगों को एक वो हुआ कि हाँ भाई अब निकल जाना चाहिए हमें भी, और वो जुमे का वेट कर रहे थे, निकल गए. अब इसमें ऐसा थोड़े कि इसको प्लान किया गया है.
देखिए, कानपुर
सुनिए,
एक सेकंड,
हमारे जो देश की एजेंसीज हैं वो इतनी कमजोर नहीं है सर कि उनको यही पता ना चले कि मौलाना साजिद रशीदी क्या कर रहे हैं, देश के खिलाफ क्या प्रोपेगेंडा चला रहे हैं, या शाही इमाम क्या प्रोपेगेंडा चला रहे हैं. ये देखिए, ये कहीं ना कहीं हम जब इस तरह की बातें करते हैं कि ये प्रोपेगेंडा है, प्री प्लान है, तो कहीं ना कहीं हम अपनी एजेंसीज को कम आंकने की कोशिश करते हैं. नहीं करना चाहिए.
अंडर एस्टिमेटिंग द लेवल ऑफ जेन्युइन एंगर अमंग्स्ट द मुस्लिम कम्युनिटी, सुशांत?
Look, there would be some people who would be genuinely agitated simply out of ignorance. There would be some who would be agitated for other reasons. But the fact of the matter is, Rahul, this kind of a demonstration and this kind of protest do not happen all over the country. Then why were these WhatsApp messages being exchanged? Why was all this instigation taking place on the social media and through various apps? So obviously something was cooking behind the scenes, and it does warrant a deeper investigation. The other thing is that the Maulana says that, they were waiting for Friday. It's a weird kind of agitation in the mind and a protest where you wait for a certain day because then you know that so many people will come. If you genuinely had an outpouring of outrage, then you would have done it on the very second day, the third day, the fourth day. You didn't have to wait for 10 days to do this. Number three, I am all for people protesting, but I draw a line on two things. Number one, if your protest is going to inconvenience me, damage my property, hurt my interests or hurt my being, I am sorry, you don't have that right. That kind of protest, you don't have the right. And secondly, if your protest is going to turn violent, there is no protest in the world which is justified if it is going to be violent, and this was clearly a protest which was designed to be violent. So I think it needs to be crushed, this tendency which is happening now, and I say this across the board. I don't care what the community is, whether it is the Khalistanis, whether it is the the Sant Samagam, whether it is the Muslims, whether it is the Christians, I don't care. Whoever takes the law into his own hand, whoever creates public disturbance, whoever intimidates, incites violence, whoever carries out these blood-curdling threats that we will chop somebody's head off, like we saw clips from Jammu yesterday, Bhadarwa. I'm sorry, this is simply not acceptable.
Zakia Suman, respond to the point that Sushant Sareen makes, that had this been genuine anger, it would have manifested on day 2 or day 3 after Nupur Sharma's comments, not so many days after the BJP already suspended her. It almost seems that this is planned and orchestrated.
So, Rahul, the comments were offensive and they are condemnable. However, since the apology was issued, I believe that the apology should be accepted. But having said that, I think that the government needs to do much more, because we are a multi-faith, multicultural society. We have different faith communities living alongside. And I think the government needs to deal very firmly with the hate mongers, because this has been building up over the years. We have seen the calls at the Dharam Sansad. We have seen what has happened with Mr. Jain in MP. He was asked repeatedly whether his name is Muhammad, and ultimately he got killed. So I think, that compact, that social compact between citizens of India, be they Hindus, be they Muslims, we need to peacefully coexist with mutual respect.
But respond to the point, Hamza Masood. Hamza Masood, I want you to respond to the question that Sushant Sareen makes, that had this been a genuine display of anger which came from within, it would have happened soon after the Nupur Sharma comments were made, not almost a week after the BJP acted against her.
Sir, I think that the anger is genuine, but what has happened today, I want the government to look into it, because who are these fringe elements that every protest that we do, there are some 2-3 people, they came in between with stones, and every protest is turned violent. It is a pattern, sir. And not every person with a topi and a dadi is a Muslim. Not every person involved in that group can be a Muslim. There are some fringe elements in society on both sides, and we need to look into this matter. But sir, there was a very simple point that Sajid Saab has also said, and I'm also endorsing it, that Nupur Sharma should have been sacked weeks ago. She should have been arrested, but it has not happened. And secondly, sir, there is a pattern that is going on since last 8 years. I would like to just take one more minute. 500% of hate speech has been increased since Modi has came into power. 45 of the leaders that have given hate speeches on national level belongs to the Bharatiya Janata Party. That is 75% of the total hate speeches, sir. So this has been done systematically. And sir, the media has also, the media houses that are in Noida are to be blamed. No religious debates should have been arranged. No religious debate should have been done. And sir, I would like to say this in Hindi now, one line, sir. That is, हमें लश्करे तैयबा से ज़्यादा खतरा लश्करे नोएडा से हो रहा है, sir, because नफरत के बीज बोए जा रहे हैं. And no country can prosper under hatred, sir.
Okay, I want Tushar Gupta to respond to some of what you're saying, that this anger had been building up. It didn't happen immediately, but all of what we've seen, whether it is, say, with the Gyanvyapi mosque issue, whether it is with the Nupur Sharma issue, that it had been kind of building up, simmering, and all this international condemnation just acted as a spark, and then we saw this outpouring of anger. Do you accept that, Tushar, or do you think this was planned and it needs to be probed into?
It needs to be probed into. Rahul, let's stop pretending that before Nupur Sharma made those remarks, there were no violent protests across the country. We saw it with CAA. We saw it with the Bengaluru riots, where an offensive Facebook post led to rioting. So let's stop pretending that before Nupur Sharma made those remarks on May 27, there were no violent protests. The gentleman before me says that Lashkar-e Noida is the problem, that hate speech is the problem, that the BJP spokespersons are the problem, that religious debates are the problem. But he won't say that the problem is the mentality. I don't say that people cannot be offended. Let's say what Nupur Sharma said was actually very offensive. Go file an FIR. Who's stopping you? Take to the courts. Who's stopping you? You are angry that she is not been arrested.
जब देश के अंदर यति नरसिंहानंद जैसे लोगों को संरक्षण दिया जाता है, सर जब यति नरसिंहानंद जैसे लोगों को संरक्षण मिलेगा, तो कैसे किस पे जाकर ट्रस्ट करेंगे?
कमलेश तिवारी भी थे सर, इस देश में तो कमलेश तिवारी भी थे.
कमलेश तिवारी के अंदर कौन गिरफ्तार हुआ?
रिकॉर्ड से डील नहीं किया. आपने तो अगर कोई गिरफ्तार नहीं होगा, नहीं एक सेकंड, अगर आप कह रहे हैं गिरफ्तार.
No, one second. Hamza Masood, I didn't invite you to speak. This is not how I run a debate. I'm most definitely not part of any Lashkar-e-Noida. You will stay silent till you are spoken to. We'll try and do this in as sensible a fashion as possible. Hamza, you can't jump in right now. His fader goes down if he doesn't listen to me. Let Tushar Gupta complete his argument. Tushar, go on.
Rahul, my worry is not that what is happening after a remark is being and what is happening in TV debates. My problem is if someone is offended, be of any community, take to the courts, file an FIR. You have all the rights, but you have no single right to call for the beheading of a woman, to call for the rape of a woman, to call for the family of that particular woman to be heard.
Let Maulana Rashidi respond to it. Her effigies were hung. उसके पुतले जलाए गए, सड़क पे मतलब पुतला फूंक दिया गया, और उसको बेहेड करने की बात हो रही कि गला काट देंगे उसका. इस तरह की चीज़ ठीक नहीं. वहाँ पे वायलेंस हो रही, वो कह रहे हैं प्रोटेस्ट कीजिए, उसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, पर इस तरह का वायलेंस, वो देखिए तस्वीरें प्रयागराज में गाड़ियां जलाई जा रही हैं.
देखिए, मैंने पहले ही कहा आपसे, एक तो गला काटने की बात, उसके साथ रेप करने की बात, इस्लाम इसकी इजाज़त नहीं देता. बिल्कुल मैं कंडम करता हूँ इस बात को. रही बात अपना प्रोटेस्ट दर्ज कराने की, ये कोई आज नया काम नहीं है. ये जो प्रोटेस्ट हो रहा है, ये कोई आज नहीं, पिछले 65-70 सालों से आप देखिए, जब भी इस तरह की कोई बात हुई है, कोई घटना घटी है, दोनों तरफों के लोगों ने इस तरह के प्रोटेस्ट किए हैं. और रही बात, अभी कमलेश तिवारी का जिक्र आ गया. कमलेश तिवारी को आप पढ़िए तो सही, कमलेश तिवारी क्या थे. मैं इंडोर्स नहीं करता इस बात को कि उनके साथ जो घटना हुई सही हुई, लेकिन आप मुझे बताइए, जब मैं बार बार यतीमा नरसिम्हानंद जो हैं, जिस तरह की वो जबान बोलते हैं, अगर खुदा ना खास्ता कोई घटना उनके साथ घट जाए, तो ये भी तो मानना पड़ेगा ना कि भाई ये आदमी था किस
Okay, let Rashmi Samant respond that
ये भी
the
तो सोचना
point
पड़ेगा।
that Maulana Rashidi makes is that elements who've been spewing venom and hatred have been allowed a free run, which is leading to anger building up, and some of that anger is what we're now seeing manifest after the Juma ki namaz across the country.
Well, Rahul, I think hanging effigies, pelting stones, and this kind of intolerance is no way to protest. It's just a way to terrorize communities, and it must be condemned in every way possible because it's an act of terror. That being said, we can all look at how the Kashmiri Hindu Pandits have behaved. They have been through the worst of genocide and ongoing genocide. In fact, they see human rights violation on a daily basis. But their patience and their perseverance and the way that they protest and the way that they want justice is an example for everybody in India. And I think all communities, irrespective of whether they're minority or majority in this country, need to take lead from there and condemn everything else, because that's truly the way that we can become a tolerant society and heal our collective differences. So I think that is it, and supporting these fringe elements, supporting pelting of stones, and justifying it in any way is being complicit in this very act of terror. So that's what I'd like to say.
Sareen, from the perspective of the intelligence agencies and the government machinery, what should be done now to ensure that tempers really calm down? Of course, the element of this being orchestrated needs to be probed, but that aside, how do you ensure that things just settle down, because there's been this simmering sense of something building up which isn't necessarily very good?
Rahul, I'll just take half a minute before I come to your question. Number one, I think it is extremely important for everybody to understand. I might find comments by many people, including members of parliament, including commentators, including all kinds of people who have made comments on my face. I might find them extremely distasteful, right? Have I gone out on the street to pelt stones and break cars and threaten murder? So this is unacceptable. Number two, I think where we have to be very careful, there is a clip, Rahul, which is doing the rounds, of this ugly fellow, foul-mouthed, vile man, who is saying something like, I want to make this lady, Nupur Sharma, do mujra. I'm sure you must have seen it. He has got his 5 minutes of fame, because he has got this tool in his hand and he's a monkey with a banduk, and he has got his 5 minutes of fame. Okay, the Delhi police is saying we are going to take action against him. The Delhi police should have been the first to take action against him. So what I'm saying is that the intelligences are probably still working with a 20th century model of gathering intelligence, of monitoring what activity is. A lot of it has moved online. Okay, now the moment you see something like this, you should be cracking down on that person like a ton of bricks. Not 2 days of jail, not 5 days of jail, not remanded for 3 days. You throw him in the clanger and throw the key away. Okay, that has to be done. Number one.
शिवलिंग के बारे में लीची के आकार को कुछ बता दिया, उसको फौरन उठा दिया गया। नुपुर शर्मा ने 10 दिन पहले बयान दिया, उसको उठाया नहीं गया, और आप कह रहे हैं कार्रवाई कर ली? कौन सी कार्रवाई कर ली?
Let Sushant speak and conclude. Let Sushant speak, please.
32 लोगों के खिलाफ,
Maulana
32 लोगों को और
Maulana Sahab, let him speak. Let
ये कौन सा नुपुर शर्मा के खिलाफ कार्रवाई है? मुझे बताइए।
I'm coming back to you in a moment. Let Sushant complete.
Okay, now if the Maulana wants to have a debate on what Nupur Sharma said, I am not a religious scholar, he is. What she has said, is there a hadith of that or not? Please, can the Maulana Sahab answer that? And is
डिबेट
hadith?
नहीं, डिबेट जिस पर हो रही है उस पर बात कीजिए ना। नुपुर शर्मा के खिलाफ कार्रवाई क्या हो गई?
नहीं,
आप क्यों क्वेश्चन करेंगे? आप टॉपिक से हटकर क्वेश्चन क्यों करेंगे भाई?
एक मिनट, थोड़ा हौसला रखिए।
अरे भाई साहब, आप टॉपिक से हटकर क्वेश्चन क्यों करेंगे? आइए बैठिए मेरे साथ, आप टाइम निकालिए ना, आइए मेरे साथ बैठिए।
देखिए ना, इनकी प्रॉब्लम,
अगर आपको हदीस जानना है, कुरान जानना है, बैठिए मेरे साथ। टीवी पर थोड़े डिसाइड करेंगे आप उसको। आप मेरे पास आइए सीखने के लिए।
नहीं, मैं आपके पास नहीं आऊंगा ना, आप मुझे बताएंगे एक हदीस उस टाइप की है कि नहीं है।
ये बताइए,
आप सीधा जवाब क्यों नहीं दे रहे?
आप सिर्फ ये बताइए, नुपुर शर्मा के खिलाफ पुलिस ने क्या कार्रवाई कर दी? 32 लोगों के खिलाफ एफआईआर और दी है।
आप किसी के कहने
एक आदमी की वजह से 32 लोगों को और घसीट लिया आपने।
आपने एफआईआर किस बात पे फाइल करवाई है? आप पहले ये बताइए ना, आपने किस बात पे एफआईआर फाइल करवाई है? اور میں مانتا ہوں کہ اگر کسی نے توہین کی ہے تو جو قانون ہے 295A اس کے تحت اگر ایک کارروائی ہو رہی ہے تو بالکل
اگر کارروائی ہو جاتی
ہونی چاہیے.
میں نے شروع میں کیا کہا تشار جی, آپ نے شاید میری بات نہیں سنا. اگر آپ میری بات کو سن لیتے شاید یہ بات نہیں کرتے. میں نے کہا کہ اگر وقت رہتے کارروائی ہو جاتی تو یہ نوبت نہیں آتی. اگر وقت رہتے کارروائی ہو جاتی, آپ سرکار کو کیوں نہیں پوچھتے؟ آپ سرکار کو کیوں نہیں پوچھتے کہ اتنے دیر میں کیوں کارروائی ہوئی؟ آپ کیوں نہیں ایک سوال کرتے؟
یہ تو بتائیے.
آپ نہیں کر سکتے ایک سوال؟
کیا ہے؟
نہیں کر سکتے آپ بھائی صاحب, آپ نہیں کر سکتے کیونکہ آپ کو مجھے کرٹیسائز کرنا ہے, آپ کو مجھے برا بھلا کہنا ہے. آپ سرکار سے پوچھ ہی نہیں سکتے کہ یہ کارروائی دشمن کے بعد کیوں ہوئی.
سشانت سرین, مولانا صاحب آپ سے پوچھ رہے ہیں کہ ایگزیکٹ اس کا جرم کیا ہے, کیونکہ وہ کہہ رہے ہیں کہ یہ تو حدیث میں لکھا ہوا ہے نا.
بھائی نبی پاک صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم کی توہین, اتنی بڑی توہین کی انہوں نے, ریپ جیسی بات کہی ان کے بارے میں.
نہیں وہ
آپ مجھے بتائیے شادی کرنا, سنیے سر سنیے, ایک منٹ سنیے.
نوپر شرما
شادی کرنا, ارے سر سنیے, اس زمانے میں شادی کرنے کا جو عام رواج تھا اور اس سے پہلے بھی, آپ ویدوں کو پڑھ لیجئے, رام جی کو پڑھ لیجئے, آپ کو پتا چل جائے گا کیا رواج تھا اس زمانے میں. شری کرشن جی کو پڑھ لیجئے, آپ کو اگر نہیں پتا تو میں بتا دیتا ہوں, ویدوں کے حوالے سے بتا دیتا ہوں. اس زمانے میں جو رواج تھا وہ تھا کہ 6 سال یا 9 سال جو بھی تھا, لیکن یہ کہہ دینا کہ وہ ریپ کی شرینی میں آتا ہے.
I don't think Nupur said anything about rape.
ریپ کی شرینی میں آتا ہے.
نپور نے نہیں بولا ریپ.
بولا, بالکل بولا ہے. آپ اٹھائیے ٹائمس آف ڈیبیٹ کو اٹھائیے. اگر صرف اتنی بات ہوتی کہ آپ نے 6 سال کی عمر میں شادی کی تو ہم نہیں کہتے کچھ بھی, چونکہ کیا برائی ہے اس میں.
I think آپ کو نوین نے جو بولا آپ اس کو اس سے کنفیوز کر.
نوین نے بھی وہی کہا ہے, نپر نے بھی وہی کہا ہے. نپر نے ٹائمس ناؤ کی ڈیبیٹ میں یہ کہا کہ یہ ریپ کی شرینی میں آتا ہے, اسی پر ببال ہے. 6 سال 9 سال پر نہیں کچھ بھی ہے, ہم اس پر بات ہی نہیں کر رہے ہیں.
اس میں تو نہیں ہے, آپ کلپ دکھا دیجیے.
اگر میں آپ کے ارادے کے بارے میں, شیولنگ کے بارے میں ایک لڑکے نے کہا تو فوراً جیل میں ڈال دیا.
مولانا صاحب
جے این یو کے پروفیسر نے کہا فوراً جیل میں ڈال دیا.
نہیں ہمارے پروڈیوسر
کے بارے میں ریپ جیسی چیز بولی.
نہیں, but this is, no, but this is where, one second, Tushar Gupta, this is where there's a problem, because I just had it checked. That's not what was said. I don't want to get into what was said, but that wasn't said. So you're kind of building up the specter of what could have been said, adding to it things which weren't necessarily said, and that is deeply problematic. So it's kind of acquiring a momentum of its own, Tushar.
Rahul, let's give the Maulana ji here the benefit of doubt. Let's give him all the benefit of doubt. Who is he to decide that how much time the police should take for the interrogation? Who is he to decide that when should Nupur Sharma be sent to jail? His job is that if he is offended, and he has all the right to be offended, he can file an FIR, he can take to the courts. File 10 FIRs, file 100 FIRs. But you have no right to say that, oh, she was not sent to jail for 10 days, तो हमारा कोई लावा पक गया, हम सड़कों पर आएंगे, दंगे करेंगे, we'll violent, we'll create arsonic on the streets, we'll do rioting on the streets. That is now how it works.
चश्मे से देख रहे हैं आप कौन से चश्मे से देख रहे हैं?
Sir,
मैं बता रहा हूं कि शिवलिंग के बारे में 2 आदमियों ने बात की, दोनों को जेल में डाल दिया आपने.
आप 10 FIR लगाइए.
और आप मेरे आराध्य के बारे में बात करेंगे, मेरा लावा नहीं पकेगा?
नहीं, बिल्कुल फूकेगा. आप करिए FIR.
आप कैसी बातें कर रहे हैं?
आप FIR फाइल करिए.
मैंने लावा पक गया बोल दिया तो आप उसको ले रहे हैं, अन्यथा
you can file an FIR. You cannot protest violently on the streets.
कब हुआ FIR? कब हुआ FIR?
वो कह रहे वायलेंस में प्रॉब्लम है, वो कह रहे इसमें प्रॉब्लम नहीं है कि आप प्रोटेस्ट कर रहे हैं, वायलेंस में प्रॉब्लम है, आगजनी में प्रॉब्लम.
वायलेंस को मैं भी मना
पर हुआ ना, देखिए अब प्रयागराज में देखिए तस्वीरें देखिए, पत्थरबाजी हो रही है, तोड़फोड़ हो रही है.
राहुल, मैंने शुरू में बोला कि मैं इसके साथ नहीं खड़ा हूं.
Sushant wants to make an interjection. Sushant?
Rahul, just a very simple thing. Look, if the Maulana is feeling incensed, number one, he doesn't have all the information, but like Tushar said, I'm giving him the benefit of doubt. He is feeling incensed about something he thinks somebody has said. He has all the right to feel incensed, to feel outraged that he feels that his holy figures are being blasphemed. I don't deny him that right. He has all the right to protest. He has all the right to demand legal action, assuming there is a case against the person. He has all the right to do all of that. The right he does not have is the right to resort to violence. The right he does not have is the right to incite hatred or to call for the murder of somebody or to offer a supari. Don't call
Let
it a
Hamza
harm.
Masood
It is
respond to that.
मैंने शुरू में condemn किया उसको।
Sushant says
मैंने शुरू में condemn किया उसको।
the protests are not the problem. Hanging her effigy, asking for her to be beheaded, putting out a supari on her name, that is problematic.
So can I say something now, sir? Please?
Yes, Hamza.
Yes. So first of all, I would like to request Mr. Rashidi and Sushant Saab, please do not discuss religion on television, be it Hindus, be it Muslims, because it will only bring enmity and hatred between two communities. It is high time that we should stop discussing religion on television. If Sushant Saab wants to know something about Islam, please contact Maulana. If Maulana wants to know something about Hinduism, please contact Sushant Saab. Secondly, violence is not the answer. We have said it very clearly that we are not with any kind of violence. We believe in rule of law, and I know for sure that Nupur will be served in courts. I know for sure that our sentiments have been heard, and the Constitution of India has given us a right to protest with peace, and we will exercise that right. I request the government of India to look into the matter and to find out who are these fringe elements who enter these crowds with us and they turn every protest into a violent one. So sir, it's high time that we should stop discussing religion and we should start acting on hatred.
And hatred of all kinds. Anybody who spews
Hatred of all kinds.
whether it is against Muslims or against Hindus or against Sikhs or any other religion, should be acted against. There can be absolutely no doubt about that.
No doubt. Irrespective of religion, hatred, if anybody is spewing venom, actions should be taken, be it Hindus, be it Muslims. It is high time that the rule of law in this country should prevail, which has been absent for last 8 years.
The last thing anybody would want is a mass, conflagration, some kind of a riot or a huge episode of violence. That's not what we want. So everybody needs to dial down the tempers and just step back and let cooler, calmer heads prevail. And there are FIRs against Nupur Sharma and the others. Let the legal process play itself out without taking law into one's hands. I think that is most important. For the time being, Sushant Sareen, Tushar Gupta, Rashmi Saman, Hamza Masood, Zakia Suman and Maulana Muhammad Rashidi for joining me. Thank you very much. This was a very tense Friday afternoon.